So obviously, Brian, our sporting backgrounds, we both been professional footballers. You at a better level than myself. Now you're involved in football in a management capacity, and we both had our troubles with gambling as well. Looking back on your relationship with gambling, where would you say it started for you?
Started at school, definitely started at school. I can relate back to being in primary school, throwing coins up against the wall, heads and tails, and it just progressed from there. Playing cards in the house for fun to start with, playing cards for money with my pals on the school bus, lunchtime. Uh, Definitely started at school for me and progressed rapidly.
How much do you think that as a young lad? I mean, for me, I look back at my relationship. It started in arcades in North Wales. We had traditions in my family, scratch cards at Christmas, the Grand National. And I always look back and I think, how much was I almost preconditioned from a young lad? That risk and reward feeling I got. How much do you think that actually played a part then for you to go on and do what you did later on in
I
life?
think it's the foundation of my gambling problem. My dad gambled every day, but it was 5 and 10 pences, and it was fun for him, and it started as fun for me, as it is with most compulsive gamblers. But it escalates very, very quickly, and there's got to be a foundation someplace. And I definitely look back to my childhood. I never, I was never into arcades, anything like that. It had to be, a sporting thing or a chance thing. Like playing cards was a massive thing. Uh, Anything that involved gambling, from an early age.
Would you do it with your dad?
Yeah, eventually. My dad would let me pick a cooking. Pick 3 teams, pick 5 teams, do the pools cooking for him, pick some horses. It was ITV7 in those days. It was just on the Saturday. We'd gather around and watch it on the TV. But let's say it was all fun. It was fun to my dad, and it was never a problem. And it wasn't a problem to me until, it became every single day.
Yeah. And it's like that, I look back at my childhood and I've got so many fond memories of gambling. Like I say, I remember my dad coming in with the paper on Grand National Day, Christmas morning, the scratch cards, and them sweepstakes we did, the 98 World Cup. I got France, and obviously they went on and won. And all that, I look back, it was happy smiles, it was all fun. Everyone did it in the family, it was sociable, as you say. But unfortunately, for the small minority, it can be a problem. And we've both had problems with gambling. How much then would you say? So, like you've just said, the foundation was there. Your upbringing, you've been around it. Then going into sport, being a professional footballer, being a manager, now you're assistant manager. How much does that environment and culture in sport play a part for people, to go
It's
back gambling?
absolutely massive. It's absolutely massive. If I go back to my early days when I joined Hibs when I was 16, you know, it was a football environment, but it was a gambling environment. Every single day people will be talking about horses, football, dogs, anything they could gamble on. And on the training ground in those early days, even when I went to Nottingham and that, you'd be playing five-a-sides for a pound or a can of juice or doing finishing, crossing and finishing, anything at the end of the session, and there'd be a small stake involved. It was, no, we were learning our technique and we were training, but we're also gambling during that. And you wouldn't really think about the gambling at that stage, but you were still gambling, and we know this illness, it eats away and it's very, very progressive.
And would you say everyone was part of that? I mean, it's one of them things, sport, isn't it? Especially a football change room, the dynamic. It's got that very macho man feel, and you want to fit in, you want to be part of it. So little things like that, and just say someone, for instance, in the modern day generation, say you weren't comfortable with gambling or didn't want to join in, you could almost feel isolated and a bit of an outcast. Was everyone doing that within your team
Yeah,
as well?
everybody joined in. If we played seven aside, there was 14 years putting a pound in or £2 in. I think it's changed now.
Yeah.
I think it's changed now. People are much more aware of it. My biggest problem was I wanted help, but I was scared to ask for help. I think in those days, I knew from an early age that I had a problem, you know, but in those early days, asking for help was a weakness.
Yeah.
It was definitely a weakness. You'd have been ridiculed by the rest of your peers, So it's different now. It's a different day. It's a different life we live in. I know now that asking for help's a strength.
Yeah.
That's a strength now. It's no a weakness. But back in those days, there wasn't anybody you could turn to. You would be like an outcast.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got a gambling problem, a stigma attached to it.
Yeah.
Where we didn't know it was a rubble. Well, we didn't know this was an illness. I thought I was just a very bad gambler.
Yeah.
You know, I was just I was unlucky. I'll be all right tomorrow.
Yeah. You'll win tomorrow.
I'll be all right next day.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't realise this was an illness eating away at me.
So although you knew you had a problem, like you say, it's so difficult. I think the hardest thing is to come clean and speak to someone, isn't it? It took me to the age of 30, and I look back and there were so many moments. I was 21, you know, I was going through my first bad injury, and I thought I could have spoke to someone then. I wasn't feeling great. I was gambling away from the pitch, and 25 again. And instead of it escalating out of control to the point where we have to hit that rock bottom before we get help, you know, it's so important that players feel like they can come forward, they can talk. But just going back to your time then, did it then affect your performance? Was it affecting your mental health? And I'm sure you didn't even speak about your mental health back then. You just got on with it. So how was it, you know, around the changing room? How was it going out on the pitch when you knew, you know, you've got a problem here?
Very, very difficult, you know, because you're living with it yourself. You're living a double life. You're living the life of a compulsive gambler where on the inside it's torture, it's torment. You feel as though you're dying inside, but you've got to portray this part of a team player. You've got to portray everything's okay. You've got to try and train properly. You've got to try and be part of a team. Whereas when I look back now, I let my teammates down.
Yeah.
I definitely let my teammates down because they're maybe preparing properly, resting, hydrating, whatever you need to do to be the best you can. Where my mind was consumed with gambling. You know, I still done the best I could, but I could have been so much better. I could have been so much better as a teammate. But gambling took that away from me.
Yeah, and you don't get that back. I remember moments playing in the FA Cup, and my mum and dad and my nana, they came to every football match, and at that point I'm consumed by gambling. I've got bets on at the time. At half time I'm going into the changing room, and I can see myself take my phone out of the pocket and going in the toilet. The manager's giving the instructions, and I just don't want to be there. And when you look back and you think your family's watching you, they're proud of you, and even me, the game I wanted to play the most as a young lad, I'm now there where I want to be. And instead, gambling's consumed my life. And at the age of 36 now, I look at that. I'd do anything to go and play in the FA Cup. And it's so difficult having that regret. And just thinking, in terms of your life now, how have you moved on? You know, you asked for help, you've gone and got that help, and you spoke about how it's needed education, awareness up here in Scotland. You know, where are you in terms of your life now after getting that help?
It took me 41 years to get help. And I only got help because I got caught gambling when I shouldn't have been gambling, you know. And it's probably one of the best days of my life where I got the phone call saying, you know, the SFA are looking into your gambling habits. I can remember words to the club secretary, thank God, it's over.
Did you want to get caught?
I wanted to get caught. I knew I was going to get caught. I don't think you really want to get caught, but you know you're going to get caught. It's just the relief. The relief. And once it's out in the open, I think it's a huge weight off your shoulders because you're living this secret life that I talk about, you know, and you're trying to deal with everything in life, and you're trying to deal with this gambling obsession, you know. But for the minute I walked through the door over 5 years ago, my life has completely changed. And you'll know yourself, we've got to change.
Yeah.
For me, gambling was never a problem. Gambling was always a solution. That was the solution. Whatever problems I had, gambling was going to solve that, you know. So the life I've got now is because I've addressed my problem, and because I've got people that I can talk to about it. You know, I talk about this is a talking illness. It's a secret illness, you know. So people don't know unless I tell them. Yeah, and that's going to meetings for me is fundamental. I go to 3-4 meetings every single week because that's how I've got to live my life. Because I've proven that with my gambling problem, I can't live a normal life. I can't live the way Brian wants to live. I can't stop gambling on my own. It's been proven over 40 odd years. So going to meetings and seeking help, it's given me a platform, and it's given me education. It's educated myself, and it's given me identification that I was the only raving lunatic out there. There's thousands upon thousands. And when you meet good people, experienced people that's been through what you've been through, you know, there's so much help out there. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay to be in a bad place because there's help out there. But you need to ask for the help, and you need to want this. You really need to want it more than anything else. It's got to mean everything that you no want to gamble. Firstly, and foremost, for your own sanity, for your own mental health, but for your family and your friends that's stood by you. You know, I do it for everybody, but I've got to do it for myself first.
Yeah. There's lots of reasons why people turn to gambling. I mean, when you look back now, the first thing when I went into recovery, I wanted to understand, why did I make the decisions that I did? And certainly, I think for me as a young footballer, being hyped up, playing in, the Wales all the way up to 21s around good players, and oh, Mark, you're going to be worth this, and then big clubs watching, all of a sudden when things didn't quite work out and then the injuries came and then my form started to dip and then the stresses that footballers are under, and like I say, it can be injuries, it can be lack of form, all these things play a part. I found gambling as a coping mechanism for me, the fact that I wasn't outperforming the game I loved the most, and all of a sudden the pressures of being a footballer were too much for me. I mentally wasn't strong enough, and I found myself in that gambling realm to cope with that. What were the reasons, do you think, when you look back to why you turned to gambling? What was it? What was it? Was it masking anything? Was it to deal with your own career?
I think it was massive insecurities.
Yeah.
My insecurities. I didn't believe I was good enough to play at the level I was playing at. I was very insecure there.
Would that be around because of maybe personalities you were with, or do you think?
No, I think it was just
yourself?
myself, because, it was just my mindset.
Yeah.
It was my mindset. Gambling, I think, puts you in a negative mindset. I remember when I was a young kid going to the bookies, for example, thinking, I hope I can win £100 today, for example. I can mind in the midst of my gambling, when it's getting progressively worse, I can afford to lose £100 today. So it's a complete opposite.
Yeah.
How much I want to win, I know I'm going to lose, because I can't get out there when I'm winning. When I'm in there and I'm winning, I can't leave in case I win more. But you always end up with nothing.
Yeah.
And it gets to the stage where I want to lose my last couple of quid just to get me out.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult to explain to non-gamblers. Compulsive gamblers know how other compulsive gamblers think. My insecurities, I think, led to a bit of my gambling. I just love gambling.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I loved when I gambled.
Yeah.
And I didn't see what it was doing to me, but most importantly, I didn't see what it was doing to everybody else around about me.
And that, about you mentioned about, how you can affect your teammates, but certainly your private life as well. I mean, how much does it affect the people around you? I became really aggressive and angry, as you know, from hearing my story. And, I look back, Emily's first 2 years of her life, I just wasn't present in the moment with her, and, the way I treated my mum, my partners, and I look back and the mark I became, it's not a nice memory to think of that over 6 years ago I was behaving in that way. How did you affect, your loved ones around you?
Probably the exact same as yourself. The isolation. You sort of take yourself out the family environment.
Yeah.
You use any excuse to be on your own. We don't go to weddings, we don't go to parties, we don't go to funerals, we don't go some days out, because we've got the best excuse in the world. We're training tomorrow. I need to rest, I need to recover. You want that isolation to gamble.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's until you get into recovery that you actually see what you've done to other people.
Yeah.
We change the character of our partners, because, our moods affect them. It's not just ourselves we affect so many people, that's involved with us. And I look back now and it's diabolical what I put people through.
It's really lonely, isn't it?
It's so lonely. People don't understand that. You're part of a football club, you're part of a team, you've got all the supporters, you've got the staff, you've got everybody at your club, but you feel so alone.
And with that, your mental health, I mean, there was nights, you're gambling throughout the night, you can't sleep, your family's in bed, you're down on the couch, and you genuinely just, you continue gambling to get that feel. Because every time I placed a bet, I genuinely felt like I had that chance. You mentioned chance as a young lad, and I felt like as long as I had money and I put it on something, I had a chance of trying to maybe win money back. I always felt like I was trying to get to zero. I mean, I know if I did, I wouldn't have stopped there either. But it's, I mean, I look back what I was doing to myself and my own mental health and the emotion I had with it. I'd break down crying quite frequently on my own, and I'd always say to myself, I need to stop this, I need to get help. But again, there was that barrier to actually own it and ask for that help. And how difficult is it? Because I think it's so important that players do feel okay. And I know you mentioned it briefly, but it can really not only be detrimental to your own mental health, your families, but it can really impact your career as well, can't it?
I think this in football, I'm talking about my own experiences. I remember when I was 16, 17, playing with Hibs, and there's 30-year-old boys playing there, and I said, I'll never be 30. And before you know it, you're 30 plus, your career's gone. It's such a short career and it goes so quickly, and through experience you learn that. And if you're gambling, if you've got a gambling problem, it's doubly worse. It's double. It really is, You're trying to balance your family life, you're trying to balance your career, you're trying to balance this gambling problem, you know. And the gambling problem will always win. It will always win because it never takes a day off. It's 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. It doesn't take a day off. It just looks for a sign of weakness in you. Your career will get ruined. Gambling will take everything that you've got and more. It'll destroy families, it'll destroy careers, it'll destroy friendships, and eventually, it'll take lives, and it has taken lives. I nearly took my own life.
Yeah. Do you know when you look at your highs of your career? I mean, you scored for Nottingham Forest against Arsenal. I'm sure you remember that. I mean, that was in 1988, the year I was born, and we played for highs. I certainly played for highs. Been, me being a striker, then winning goal feelings, winning them accolades. Certainly you've been in management as well, and the cups you've won. The sport takes you to this unbelievable feeling when you win, doesn't it? And gambling can replicate that. How difficult is it? I mean, for me now, I've taken a break from football. It could be the end. I don't know at the age of 36. The thought that I can never maybe get that sporting high again scares me. But I know gambling could take me there. What is it away from that? What can people have away from the field to get them highs in life? Because it can be difficult. Because I feel as athletes, we chase that, don't we?
We chase it. That's why we're in the sport.
Yeah.
That's why we come in to try and win things, to have those moments that you spoke about. But what I would say is, if you can address your gambling problem, if you've got a problem and you can address it and get a good recovery into you, just having a normal life will give you everything you want in life. Just being normal, being able to get up in the morning, have a cup of coffee, don't pick up the racing paper, don't put the racing channel on. Just having a normal life, that's what recovery gives you. It gives you serenity, as we know. It gives you peace. Put your head in the pillow at night, and no wonder what the score is in New Zealand under 17 game at 4 o'clock in the morning. Or a nice hockey game. You can check out Slovakia. Just being able to put your head in the pillow.
It's that moment as well, isn't it? Being present in the moment. I remember going into recovery, and quickly after it, I went to my brother's wedding, and I left my phone in the car. I didn't need it. I'd been on it for many years, and actually being present in the moment with family, friends, and I think that made me realise how much I'd missed out on. That emotion, and I'm not sure about yourself, for me, going into recovery, I'm probably more sensitive and emotional now than I've ever been. And it was maybe because for so many years I had to put up this wall because I was gambling, and I pushed everything away and I didn't feel anything. Then all of a sudden, anything, even my little girl Emily now, like little moments really bring out my emotion, and it's just being present, I guess, isn't it?
100%. You miss so much in life, but once you find identification, your emotions come back. And seeing the emotions that come back, the emotions you just spoke about, to me that's the real emotions. Not the kid on emotions that we need to sometimes look as though we are emotional. These are real emotions. I get really, really emotional now because I look back at what I've done, and I had a problem with the guilt for the first 3-4 years of my recovery. The guilt was a real problem for me, thinking what I'd done, who had hurt. But that was holding me back in my recovery a little bit. You've got to look back, but don't stare, as they say. Look back, remember what you've done, and use it going forward. But just being present, just being there. I see it a lot of meetings that I go to that See, when I was gambling, if somebody asked me a question, it was, would you? No. They hadn't even finished the sentence. Would you like? No. See now, when somebody asks you something, would you? Yeah. I've not finished my sentence. It's okay, I'll do it. What you want to do?
Yeah.
You know, it's a completely different mindset. And for me, the mental side of it is massive. You know, getting that positivity into your head. And it's a daily fight.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't something you need to stop for a month. This is something you need to do for the rest of your life. And we talk about living just for today.
Yeah.
I just live for today. Yeah, I've got to. That's what works for me. That's the thing that works for me. I just live for today. Just don't gamble today. Be the best person you can be today. And see, tomorrow we'll start again. And I think, you know, anybody that's got a gambling problem or thinks they've got a problem, give it a try. Try it. Break it down.
Yeah.
If it's only for an hour, if it's only for half an hour. But please talk about it.
Yeah.
Please talk about it.
And also, obviously, when you went in, you spoke to the SFA, and you know, I love watching the video where you say, you know, the operators need to come together with Scottish football. There is a problem, you know, there is a culture, and something needs to be done, and the collaboration now has taken place.
Yeah.
I mean, how did you feel after seeing that video, and then the fact that I've had the privilege to actually deliver the session from Epic Global Solutions with you in the room? And I don't know how you felt when I was at the front. For me, it can be quite lonely sometimes when you're up there delivering, and we do it quite frequently. And you know, I'm that former gambling addict. This is what I did wrong, and I felt comfort that there was someone else like you in the room. It was nice to know that, you know, you knew exactly what I meant. You could relate to it. How did you feel? Two questions really. The fact that the sessions are now taking place, what you asked for technically all them years ago, you're now seeing it within Scottish football, and we deliver across all 4 divisions. But also, how much do you think that will benefit the players, what you watched, you know, 2-3 weeks ago?
I'm absolutely delighted that somebody's done something about it. They've identified it is a major problem. It is a massive problem. This isn't the betting company's problem. You know, we need the money from the betting company. Scottish football needs money for sponsorship. This isn't down on them. This is down to an individual. I decided to gamble. It was me who had the problem, not the betting companies. I've got to say that, right? But I said they had to come together to try and help people, because I don't want people going through what I went through. I don't want people having to tell the lies of the life that I led, you know. And to see you people doing that, you coming and delivering, it's absolutely fantastic. You know, there'll be people in every club with a problem. Well, you know that, and I know that. You know, just see if you can help one person. See if one person takes that identification. That's my story. He's talking about. He's talking about me there. I wonder if he could help me.
Yeah.
I wonder if the numbers you give, if somebody's phoned. You know, I think it's massively important that people have got some place to go. They're not alone. You're not alone. You know, and I think that's the hardest thing is asking for help.
Yeah.
The first bit, we all know, it's admitting I've got a problem. My life's become unmanageable. Yeah, you're a compulsive gambler if you're answering yes to that. Yeah, but there's help there, and through this program, and through what you're doing, and through the support network, you know, people can get through this. People can have a better life. But I keep going back to my dad used to say to me, "You only get out of life what you put into it." Nah, he says, "Ah, silly little bugger." You know, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's 100% right, and this isn't any different. We're no outcasts because we gamble. You know, we've got an illness,
Yeah,
and we're trying to address it on a daily basis. And there's people there to help. So I would just encourage anybody that's got a problem, come forward.
yeah,
You know, your anonymity will be there. Yeah, people, my anonymity went right to the window.
yeah,
We talk about a lot of gamblers being a secret gambler. As soon as I walked to that tribunal, the media just told the world,
yeah.
this guy's got a gambling problem. It's the best thing they've ever done for me.
But then from there, you had to show that bravery, own it, and take accountability, which you have. And even after my session, when you spoke, it was like that. Like I said to you, it was like there was 2 of us in the room, and we were doing it together and helping people. I mean, how many footballers do you have now? People know they can come to you to talk.
Yeah.
How many people reach out for you about this addiction?
I've had quite a few footballers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some are doing really well. But you'll get 2 or 3, do I just need to come for a month?
Yeah.
Do I need to come for a month? I think it's a quick fix. Unfortunately, it's no quick fix. We know it's no quick fix. You know, this is a serious illness that will take everything away from you. You know, but there is a solution. But you've got to want it. I keep going back to that. You've got to want it so much, and you've got to devote time and effort. You know, and there's no greater feeling when you're in a good place that you can go and help other people.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
I was never there for anybody when
no,
I was gambling.
no.
I was there for me. See now, your phone's on 24/7. You know, people can chat at your door, people can talk to you in the street. You know, that's part of the program.
Yeah.
Helping people. You know, but you've got to really want to address the situation, and it's very difficult. It's difficult. It gets easier as long as you don't get complacent.
Yeah. You've almost, sometimes that's why, I mean, you mentioned about leaving the past, taking accountability for it, but you and I both know we'll never forget them darkest days. I mean, in terms of your darkest day, how did that feel? The last time I placed a bet on November the 7th, 2018, as you heard, breaking down in front of Emily, crying on the floor, I knew I needed serious help. I didn't really know where to turn to. And on that day, I look back, yeah, it's not a vision I like to see, but that vision of that moment of me and my little girl, she's now 7, that's my strength. You said we can't be complacent. I never, ever want to see that Mark Williams again. And I don't want to ever go back to that place. And that's what keeps me going, and doing what I do now at Epic is giving me that purpose to help. As you said, I think it's part of the process. We've got to help people, you know, and you're doing the same. So, you know, how low can you get, you know, and do you look back at that moment to help you today?
There's always 2 or 3 moments that you look back on in your life as a gambler and think, did that really go that low?
Yeah.
You know, was my mindset really in that place? I remember being when I worked in Qatar, being on top of a 32-story building in one step field, walking off it, you know, and I think now, where was my mind there? Is this where gambling's took me? Is this where gambling has actually took me? To walk off a building, you know? For some reason I didn't. For some reason I didn't. I don't know. We talk about a higher power helping us, you know. For some reason I didn't. You don't think the selfishness in doing something like that. You think you're helping people doing it. I just think it's things like that come into your mind, you know. And I never want to be in a place ever again where I'm putting myself in that position. And I know if I'm not on my guard all the time, it just takes one slip. It just
Yeah.
takes one slip, and my life could go back to that
Yeah.
as quickly as it's changed.
How proud are you of the Brian Rice that you are today?
Yeah, I'm hoping I'm a better Brian Rice.
Yeah.
But that's not for me to judge. That's for other people to judge.
But isn't that nice that people, I mean, the amount of people that I'd played with in my career and now who I've played since I've gone into recovery, and when you get a message or a conversation with someone saying, I can't believe the difference in you, Mark, or it's so nice to see this, Mark, that tells me I'm on the right path. I'm not always going to get things right.
Yeah.
I'll still have
Yeah.
a moment that I think, oh, why did I do that? Them little moments that will make me realise that I am a better version of myself. And yeah, you know, next week for me is 6 years without a bet, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of where I am today. I won't forget the past, but I'll take accountability for it, and I want to help as many people not to make the mistakes I did.
See, because you're in recovery, doesn't it mean to say everything in your life's fantastic? Doesn't it mean to say there isn't any bumps in the road? When you're gambling and there's bumps in the road, you go to gamble to solve it. That's your solution to solve your problems. For me, sorry. Now when there's bumps in the roads, what I've learned in recovery and going to meetings, I've got tools now to help me. I can speak about it now. Instead of going away in a huff or sulking or I'm away gambling. Now we can sit down and talk about it. Right, how are we going to solve this? And that's the biggest thing for me. Having the tools now to deal with life's problems. Just because you're in recovery doesn't mean to say you've not got problems.
No.
You know, but we can deal with them better. That's the most important thing for me.
No, I totally agree. And for me today, I always feel talking to a former gambler. We're both in recovery. I can only thank you for your time, for being so open and honest as well. I wish you all the best in the future with your recovery. Continue your great work. But it's been an absolute pleasure to meet you more in person and to chat with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Will. I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate what you're trying to do to help every player, because you know, there'll be people out there think they're alone, and they're not. And there's always help. So thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Cheers.
Top man.
Cheers.